Today, Kamogelo Mopai. You good?
I couldn't be better on this very chilly Saturday morning.
Yes. As you can see, Ranalidi products Mona Zamatekwan. I don't know how people receive that. How do people receive that? How do people how about like your product Yamatekwan?
First, I'll tell you, it's not easy when you go to the in-laws and tell them, hey, I make cannabis cosmetics.
I can imagine.
Some people are really intrigued, naturally so. A lot of people are inquisitive. I think the reason why I started my business is because I was documenting the journey on my social media.
Sure.
And I had a lot of my contacts who were very inquisitive, and they were like, hey, Kamo, what is that? Like, what's happening? And I was like, oh, no, I'm just making some cannabis products. And they were like, I don't know what you're doing, but I want some. And I was like, dude, just get weed, just get oil, and
do the things, yeah.
And they were like, but I don't have as much weed as you do, so you do it. So I landed up selling out on the first day simply because I had multiple pre-orders, and all those people actually committed. And yeah, that's pretty much how people have perceived it. And I think now it's still a bit of a shocker. It's still somewhat taboo, but a lot of people are more receptive as the world becomes a lot more receptive.
Yeah.
And legalizes it, yeah.
I was very intrigued by the fact that something that I use can be used in many other different ways. And it's interesting. So, okay, Mohan didn't know about it in the beginning?
Yes, she didn't. So, in 2016, my mom bought a farm. And at that point, I was still working for a company. It was still based in Joburg. So a lot of the times we were based in Joburg. And because of that, the farm came with sheep already. It came with livestock. So my uncle was at the farm taking care of all the animals. And while he was there, he decided, hey man, I like the greens. Let's light it up.
Yeah.
And he started farming cannabis.
Awesome.
And there was a particular time where he had to leave for about 2 weeks or so, and he kind of let me in on a little secret. He was like, listen, because we have a warehouse, which was pretty much an old car repair shop, workshop. So he's like, listen, when you go to that workshop over there, you need to get inside, go down, and you'll see something. I'm gonna need you to make sure that the fan is on, the lights are on, and whatever it is that's there is growing. So I'm like, no. Let's go see, like, what is there?
Yeah.
So I went underground. I was like, oh, hectic. And man, it was growing so beautifully. And I was like, there's no way. Firstly, there's so many elements on this farm, right? There's snakes, there's wildcats, and I was just scared of sheep and goats. But like, that's off the record. So there's like a lot of variables on the farm. And one of the things I said is, I'm not going to do this for free. If you think I'm going to do this for free,
no way.
You have lost your mind. You're literally getting high in your own supply, and I'm not feeling it. So he was like, no, look, I'll give you the leaves. And I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do with the leaves? I may not know drugs, but
the leaves are not
I know that's what, that's not what people smoke. So with that being said, I then opted to, he was like, do your research.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll do my research, I'll get back to you, I'll sleep on it. Can't guarantee anything, but I'll sleep on it. And I did. Started doing my research. I was like, oh, what are cool things you can do with the leaves? And I was like, listen, you got a deal. One of the things that I learned was cannabutter. And surprise, my cannabutter. So those are one of the first things I learned. And this is before weed was legal.
So you were doing like illegal stuff, G.
Off the record.
All right.
I don't put it like that, but
yeah. But look, you must take risks, Bupilo. So I think
that's what entrepreneurship is all about.
Exactly. So
you gotta be a risk taker.
So you saw the trend was eventually gonna catch up. Well, sooner or later, or even maybe way later. But a couple of years later, weed is legalized in South Africa.
Not even that. Can I tell you a very interesting story, please? So I started my company when I was experimenting. I think it was early March. right? April, that's when I decided, hey, let's do the packaging and send it out.
Yeah.
And started literally, all I started with was not, it was a business account. And it's, no, just an Instagram account. That's literally how I officially launched Cannabutter. September, I then went to China. We'll talk about that later.
Indeed.
And when I went to China, there was this, I don't know if you know about She Leads Africa, but it's...
She Leads Africa, I think I've seen it show.
And they had an incubation program, right? And in that incubation program, it was for cosmetics. And I was like, oh, I'd love to enter this. I didn't have my laptop then. If those who've been to China know, VPNs are a big thing.
Important.
I didn't have my laptop there. I had no resources to get this PowerPoint presentation ready. And with that being said, one of the challenges I also had was, I do cannabis products. They're not going to allow me in this program. And I'm a firm believer of praying, right? I'm a firm believer of manifesting. And most importantly, I'm a firm believer of preparing for your blessings, right? So here I am. I think it's like the 14th of September. I'm sad. I'm literally sad because I'm like, I can't do this incubation program. I don't have the right business to be in this incubation program. What I'm doing is technically illegal. And I kid you not, there was one particular day when we were in China and I was on a bus and I was even crying because I was just going through life, right? And I get back to my hotel because I wasn't connected. When I get there, I get all these notifications from one of my friends, Zintle, from Anu, from Tato, and I was like, okay, guys, what's happening? And they were like, no, weed has just been legalized in South Africa.
Yeah.
I kid you not. I think I have a video of me crying and screaming and celebrating.
Oh, I remember seeing you post on Instagram, Vele, while you were that side of wow. Good things are happening.
And the thing is, I think that was on the 18th, I stand to be corrected. The closing date of, this incubation program is the 21st. So I literally had 3 days to pick myself up and apply. I didn't make it, but I think the one thing that I learned is resilience. I believed, I was like, if there's one thing about God, he'll always make it shape for me, If I want something bad enough, he'll always make a way. And I was like, if I'm in China and I'm being very intentional about what it is that I want to achieve, then, and if it's my purpose and if it's meant for me, it will happen. And I was literally halfway through my trip in China learning about oil processing when that happened. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I didn't.
Yeah, no. You answered and gave me even more than more is what we want. More is definitely the aim. Let's get into some of these questions that I have for you.
Okay.
What are some of the influences from your upbringing, that sort of made you want to be an entrepreneur or get into business?
My mom, right? When I was in varsity, my mom was just tired of me, okay? So, I'm one person who will start something and leave it. Like I started my BCom accounting degree, dropped out after a year, took a gap year, thought about my life, and then I was like, okay, I know what I want to do now, and I studied financial information systems. So I was like, it's all good, it's all well. You wasted a lot of money, but it's fine. First year, living La Vida Loca. Second year, my mom's like, okay, I let you live nice. You're 21 now. You're a grown woman. Pay for your rent. I was like, sorry, what? She's like, no, you're studying, right? So I'm like, yeah, so I don't have a job. She's like, no. I'll make sure that you are well educated. I'll pay for your studies. I'll make sure that you never go a single day hungry. But what I'm not going to do is pay for your rent. You're growing. So she's like, what I can do is give you capital to start your business. I don't care what you do. Tell me how much you want and I'll give it to you. And at that point, I was selling wigs in varsity. So, I was balancing everything. I was selling wigs. I was doing mentorship for the first years. I was in my second year at the time. And I think that's one thing that pushed me over the edge. I've always known that I had an entrepreneurial spirit since the age of 9 when I started selling bangles at the side of the road because there was a crèche. And I used to make my own little handmade candles. So
Khalan's only busy, man.
I've been booked and busy from like Early days. I think I was in grade 3 at the time. And I even had like one employee, which was like my neighbor's daughter, well, little cousin. So I had one employee, bangles. My mom had bought me a lot and I didn't make jewelry. So I was like, I'm selling this. I'm going to make money. And these kids would just go with their parents and I'm like, and I was just selling, you know? And yeah, I think my mom knew that I had that inside of me. And she decided to harness that by virtue of taking me to the different business, expos and
that leads me to the next question, Hamanante, actually. The importance of the right exposure. I think you were speaking about the right kind of exposure that propelled you into this kind of industry that you are in, or into the businesswoman that you are today.
Yes, actually, yeah. My mom, if there was one thing, my mom has been like my biggest rider, Every single, I think there was even one property expo that I wanted to, which is like 14,000 Rand. And I didn't even follow through with it, but she still supported me,
Yeah.
And so yeah, there was APA Africa, right? And at that particular event, they had the Institute of Directors South Africa.
Yeah.
And I was doing my final year at varsity, I was doing auditing, and at that time, the King 3 was slowly transitioning to the King 4 report, right?
Okay.
It's a governance structure, framework, if I must.
Yeah, on Chapaka Jago, never said so. Shall I say the King 3, the King 4,
Okay, so in layman's terms, it's basically the cornerstones of what organizations should stand for from a corporate perspective.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And the Institute of Directors South Africa is almost the custodians of that body.
Okay.
So for me, it was very interesting because I was like, hey, I know, the King 3 because I was doing auditing. So I went there and I had a look. And I was like, oh, so what is this all about? And they were like, no, you pretty much, this is a director's body. And I was so curious. I was like, I've always wanted to be a director. So how am I going to do this? And they're like, no, ideally you have to be in business for 5 years in order to be part of the institution and to be a certified member. There are other, criteria. But I knew that before the age of 30, God, at least if I turn 30 years old, I want to be part of this association. That I happened to accomplish by the age of 27.
High five.
Thank you. And I'm part of the 9% of directors under the age of 35. So, with that being said, I've paid my dues.
Yeah,
I like to believe.
Cool stuff. Mentors and role models that impacted how your career.
Can I tell you who has really impacted my career? 9-year-old Kamogelo. My God.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal young girl.
No, she sounds like, now I just heard about her. She sounds like such an exceptional woman. Phenomenal.
She's, oh man, a dream. So there were a lot of things that she made, a lot of affirmations that she had put on the ground to say, listen, I need to have my own business. I need to do this. I need to do
At
that.
9.
At 9, yeah. And I think when that happened, I knew that, when you're 9, you're very naive and the world is your oyster and you can literally be whatever you want. When I was 9, I wanted to be a celebrity, right? And
You would be both. You would, but being shy was the problem, but I definitely want to be a celeb.
And, right? And one of the things that I used to do as a kid is whenever I knew that I wanted to do something, I'd always research it. So I knew that when I wanted to be a celebrity, I needed to start doing research. And one of the things that I came across is you have to have a very private life. And man, it's still stuck to me today, I think even if you ask my sister's like, oh, you're so secretive. And, it's I don't know if it's a bad trait to have, but it's something that whenever I make a decision, I stick to it. I knew that at some point I wanted to be an investment banker, right? Don't ask me how I got to selling drugs, please. But I wanted to be an investment banker. And when I was studying that, when I wanted to know more about it, I knew that one of the things you couldn't do is be in a relationship with somebody you worked with or your clients. You had to maintain that level of independence. When I tell you that the first time I ever dated, full stop, and also dated when it came to what's it? In life,
yeah.
and also promotion. And it was only my final year, and I was like, hey man, let's see. But it's just really one of those things where, as a young woman, I made up my mind with certain things, and I knew what I needed to do to become those, and I would stick to it. I mean, after I took my gap year, I knew that I still wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I was like, two things that I'd never want somebody to cook me with is, computer systems, because we know that it's so easy to hack systems, as well as finances.
Let me just say this. I think not a lot of us know how easy it is. Maybe because I think a lot of people are still ignorant about the dangers of the internet. I tell you, because they don't like their privacy, they don't understand privacy at all. Because terms and conditions is something
you not apply. You just click.
Accept. So
But with that being said, those are the things, and because I used to read a lot, I knew that those are the challenges. I knew cash flow, I knew fraud, I knew all those things, and I said, if I study these things, those are things that I can't learn along the way, because I'm not trying to mess with my money. So I knew that from a university perspective, that's the education that I was going to get. And I knew that after that, the world would be my oyster. So 9-year-old Kamo definitely was the paramount influence to the woman I am. Born.
All right. Losing, taking L's is like a big part of the winning game. I think people, we are not told about that, especially in this day and age where we glamorize and highlight only the highlights of our lives, right? That's all we post on social media. We don't post when we stumble. We don't post when we've lost 500,000. Well, not everyone. Not everyone. It's not a common thing. So I'm glad that you do. I wish a lot more people would, because it takes away that whole belief once you start winning, you will always be winning.
I mean, I'll tell you now, right? And I'll use my babies as an example. Sometimes your life knocks you, and when I say knock, I don't mean tumbling and falling. It's little things. Sometimes, at this current moment, imposter syndrome is something that's really, really drowning me. I've had these products, which I still haven't launched yet, because personally, I don't feel like I'm ready. Sometimes because I've literally transitioned from being employed to self-employed to now back being employed, and you feel that there's so many things that you're not doing right, even though you're doing so many things right and you've accomplished so much. I was even telling you when I put all these products here to say, whoa, I actually didn't know I had so many products. Wow. Simply because I haven't launched them yet.
There's more at the back.
There's always a party at the back. But it's those things where you realize that, hey, when you feel like you've experienced one loss, it almost feels like a ripple effect of other losses. And having to get yourself out of that funk is so hard, but we move. I think one of the biggest ones, and that's when I knew that I was resilient as hell, is after my dad passed away. I didn't even know that I was going to continue running my company. It was literally a year later. I had just started a new job. I had just moved to a new neighborhood. There were just so many changes happening, which I felt so out of control of. And with that being said, having a support structure is everything.
It's the most important thing.
I had a woman that I worked with at reception, one of the reception ladies, was like, oh, what do you do? And I told her. And before I knew it, everybody throughout the office, through different branches, were ordering, So I think having your L's, it's very important to acknowledge them, know why they're holding you back, and be able to pick yourself up and overcome it. And like I said, it's not easy. I'm still in that rut. I still haven't costed these yet. And I've had them for 2 months now. But it's really important to also understand that we're human, and to give yourself that grace as well. I think that's the most important part.
Very, very. So obviously when you are encountering your losses, it's even harder to stay motivated and be amped up. So what do you do to, like, from when you are okay and you are all amped up, what is it that keeps you motivated, and when you are in your lows of lows, what gets you back up?
Firstly, my nieces.
I see them a lot on your social media.
You can never go wrong with little people. But with that being said, it's really just having people around you. Sometimes you have to be by yourself. And I think that's why I also landed up going to China. I was literally going through it all at that particular stage of my life. And I was like, you can't heal in the same place you got hurt. And I had to remove myself from, it turns out, the whole country. But anyway, in the same breath, I definitely say knowing what makes you alive. For me, traveling is that thing. I know, right? Catch flights, not feelings.
That's something I'm gonna say from now on.
But I knew that being in a different country, seeing different sceneries. Last year, I was also going through depression. I literally decided, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I literally quit my job, moved back home, and I was a farm girl for about 6-7 months. Because I was like, I'm not happy. Whenever I'm not happy, I'm the type of person to pack up and leave and start again. But I also believe in, like, the little things. I take myself on solo dates, where I read a book, have a bottle of wine, enjoy my own company. Sometimes I'm at home. Sometimes it's doing my hair. I love. I mean, you can see. I love my hair and playing with it and taking my baths. These are all the things that I love.
Indeed. And you manifested them into products that you can use when you are loving yourself. Yeah. Okay, cool. Which also leads me to the when I answer the questions even before the boats, which is a good thing. So mental health. You are talking about mental health. Yeah. So how do you maintain your mental health, and how important is your mental health to you?
I think for me, most importantly, mental health is making sure that your surroundings are always conducive enough for you and your sanity. I know that at work I have refuge. There are 1 or 2 people who I can talk to who would give me that level of sanity, who know what you're overwhelmed and can see when I'm not at my peak. At home, I have my sister and my mom and my nieces who are able to put me back should I need it. I have a new business partner, for my other business, which we'll get to. But with her, she's, that sounding board. Whenever I feel so uninspired to continue with my business, there's always, something that she'll say or some challenges that she'll face that I help her with that would help me get out of that rut. I think most importantly is having the right support structure in every area of your life. That's when no matter how far I'm depleted, I know how to replenish myself. And I think as humans, we need to know that within ourselves to say, this is when I'm whole, this is when I'm complete. And when I diminish, who do I turn to? Or what do I turn to? What are those vices? And sometimes people obviously turn to drugs and alcohol and whatever it may be to replenish themselves. But it's also equally important to turn to people and things.
And more positive, constructive ways of building yourself. I mean, I don't think drugs and alcohol are a way to do that. I don't think they help you cope with. They might help you cope with the situation. You don't solve anything.
But you don't get replenished.
Yeah.
And
see?
Those are things where I realized that you need to find your thing. Your one thing that brings you back to your center. And it's also important to understand the areas of your life where certain things are applicable, because if I am burning out at work, how I replenish myself in my business is not necessarily the same way I can replenish myself within a working environment. So you need to learn yourself and understand yourself, be patient and graceful with yourself. I think that's the most important thing.
I get you fully. So maintaining good relationships is such an important part of business, right? So and a skill that most of us as entrepreneurs tend to ignore or not place so much value in. What are your views on maintaining good relationships, and how do you maintain your relationships?
Yo.
Loaded question.
Yo. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Right. I believe that your network
translate to your net worth?
No, is exponentially greater than your net worth.
Oh wow, okay, that's a new one. The Mutrile, right?
It's exponentially greater. I'll tell you why. Perfect example. When I met you, right, and you told me about the opportunity to go to China, I had all of 2,000 rand in my account, right?
Yeah.
And when I say my account, I mean I had depleted everything, and now I was tapping into the last bit of my tax-free savings.
Yeah.
And I had 2,000 rand. And with that 2,000 rand, I got my visa, which was a risk. I got all the necessary medical tests to get, my visa to China. And it was through my network that I had an opportunity to fly, study, be fed, still get a stipend, and work within that space. And I think I didn't know you from a bar of soap. Could have been kidnapped, by the way. I'm just putting it out there.
I wouldn't have gotten you, but anyway, tell a bit.
It was scary, but
I can imagine. Yeah.
With that being said,
hey, wait. Your mother was like, "Why are you going?"
Look, she wasn't open to it. I mean, you told me this in March. I really decided to take the decision in June. So it was a lot of back and forth with myself. It was a lot of back and forth with my mom. And then I realized that no, it's not my mom's life. It's mine. And if she has equipped me enough with the right education, the right upbringing, that means I should be well equipped to make the right decisions, even if they go against her wishes, to a degree, because I'd like to believe she gave me a solid foundation. So with that being said, networking is very, very important. You had initially contacted me to do a photo shoot.
Indeed, which is what I do. Now that's what I do. Yo, would you like to do a shoot?
But that still hasn't happened.
Well, but a lot more productive things have happened.
Why? Because we maintain that relationship.
Indeed.
And sometimes you just need to know that people are more than what they actually bring to the table and what they offer. And it's getting to know them, understanding them, and exploring, what it is.
I always say that we have a bad decoder of attraction, right? As we grow up not understanding what attraction is, especially if it's between men and female, right? I always think, okay, when I meet a guy and I'm gelling with him, there's no reason for me to want to be in a relationship with him because I'm heterosexual, right?
Yeah.
I never think about that. But when you are attracted to a woman, right, and you don't know what the attraction is because you just assume attraction is just one thing.
Yeah.
You don't really understand, okay, that attraction might be, okay, let's do businesses together, manifest the dreams that you have. And I strongly believe, okay, that's why now I'm attracted to the people I'm attracted, whether it's women or men.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Same. And for me, personally, I mean, you had slid into my DMs on Instagram.
I slide.
And the thing is, a lot of the times, the misconception is when somebody slides, they're just trying to be in your space, And I always say, I have a bad habit. Immediately when someone slides into my DMs, I'm like, how can I help you? Like, I just what do you want? But with that being said, I always give people that grace and that opportunity to actually state their case, because a lot of the times you assume, which you obviously explained right now, but that's not always the case. I think because I know myself, I know I have so much to give. I know that's not the only reason why somebody would want to have that conversation with me. So with relationships, that's how my second business started, having somebody within your particular industry. And a lot of people wouldn't want to share industry knowledge simply because
they don't, because they feel like you're gonna do better than them. Capo, like they worked so hard to gain that. It's such a challenging thing to get information from other entrepreneurs.
It is. And I personally believe in collaborating to compete. And when I came across other women within my particular space, we shared resources, knowledge, suppliers, simply because when you eat, I eat, we all eat. And I know that when I have a network of people who are eating, my kids are going to have a network of people they can call when they're in sticky situations. Hey, you need a photographer. Here's your guy. You need a fashion designer. Here's your lady. Because when I know something, I'm the type of person who shares.
Sharing is caring.
I think sometimes people get annoyed. I share everything. When I have resources, I literally literally ship them out to the people who I know they would most benefit.
Which is why I hit you up though.
And that's how I maintain the relationships that I have. That's how I believe in maintaining. Because my friend once said, relationships need to be equally yoked. You need to give, I also need to receive.
I always say that I don't mind being used. I'm a very useful person.
Yeah.
But you know be useful for me.
Yes,
I don't want to obey a user. I'm like, hey user, that's
Yeah.
cool. As we have a user, that's cool. But if you're just using one, then it becomes a problem. Speaking of good relationships, what are some of your valued relationships?
I always get back to my nieces.
Uh-huh.
I love them so much. I'll tell you why. One of the biggest reasons why Cannabutter is here is because my first niece, Babalo, is my name, and it turns out it's also the name of the official name of the registered company. Yeah,
Okay.
Cannabutter.
All right.
So I actually named it Babalo and Co. And kids teach you newness. I think with my niece, she taught me how to love. You know, my second niece taught me how to take risks. I've never seen someone who jumps off anything anyhow without mission.
Wow.
And just seeing life through kids' eyes is like such a beautiful thing. It's so refreshing. And one of the things that my nieces taught me was grace and love and patience. And I think that's something that I was able to take from her and implement in mine and my father's relationship, which was almost distorted. Relationships, my sister as well, she's like literally my rock. She keeps me sane, she keeps me alive. And my mom, I think she's played a detrimental role, but I think every single person in my life plays a very influential role. And I'm one person, if you're not, and sometimes influence just means keeping quiet and just being there, you know what I mean? But I'm very intentional about the people who I choose around me because I believe in energies. You know, I believe in having the right spirit. I think I don't know how to base articulate that. Like even
I
in
think
the workspace.
we understand your valued relationships and what they offer to you, what they give in return. Paying dues. Paying dues. If you're not paying the dues, as in JEWES, you gotta pay other dues. So paying dues is very important. What kind of dues are you paying and are still paying? What dues have you paid and what dues are you still paying?
So currently I'm paying Cannabis dues by the form of getting back into corporate employment. I'm a recruiter, 9 to 5. I'm now, specializing in the fintech space, which is literally what I've studied in varsity, by the way. So that's one of the dues I'm paying. Why? Because sometimes when you have a dream, you have to make sacrifices. And that's the sacrifice that I'm doing for my business. Another due that I have to pay, I believe when it comes to generations, every generation has its role to play. My grandfather's generation was to take his kids to school. My mom's generation happens to be building wealth by the form of investing in property. I know that my generation is to have businesses and cash flow and give the next generation options and diversity in terms of time and what it is that they want to do, but build a foundation of wealth. That's what I believe are the dues that I have to pay. So I'll give you a typical example. Now, I decided to move into one of my mom's apartments, or houses, and I said, you know what, it doesn't make sense for me to be paying someone rent when I could literally help my mom. I'm busy like fixing roof, I'm like repainting and doing everything in one of her properties. I mean, she doesn't live there, but I was like, hey, let's work towards this goal particularly. And once I'm done fixing the house, I'll find something else to do. I'll move out, I'll do whatever. But I know that it's my responsibility to make sure that the next generation also has a place to call home. So I don't believe that that's black tax. I believe that's securing the assets that are already there.
Wow, beautifully put. Dibuka. You spoke earlier on about Korata Dibuka. I feel like I for one, right? I really did not enjoy reading growing up. It was like literal torture. Like we'd sit on the table and my mother would be like, ba la ta lele ba la iring mona. Dibuka, some of the books that you that have shaped your worldview or your perspective.
Whew. I'm gonna concur with your statement. I don't like reading that much. Can I tell you, this year for my birthday, I've gotten the most books in my life, and I'll tell you why. Right? I believe in skim reading. I believe in reading the first chapter, and then the first page of every chapter after that. I grab the concept and I run with it, you know? And if a chapter's interesting, I'll read the whole thing. But when I used to go to a lot of expos, a lot of conferences, I would take one book where I know, this book, there's no way no one hasn't read it. Sit by a little coffee stall, whatever it may be, and every single time, I tell you without fail, someone will disturb my peace to talk about the book.
Indeed.
Right? And they would start and finish the book for me.
This is very interesting. I think I'm gonna apply the same concept, but it's very hard to do with audiobooks. But I think it's very okay for all the physical copies I have. This is what I'm gonna do.
No, really, because people love engaging, you know, when it comes to books and whatever it may be.
Indeed.
So I realized that I don't have to work hard here. I could literally take one night to grab a concept, and when I go out again,
go with that book. You've got a hack. Thank you for the hack.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the hack.
But it really works because a lot of people are very inquisitive, and especially when you do your more common books, you know. But one book that I read as a kid was one of Robert Kawasaki's books, which is called The Rat Race, where they were literally illustrating, which I love, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's one of the books that I really, really enjoyed because I did not have to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. They literally summarized it in that whole book. Another book that I really enjoy, an author is Paulo. I think he wrote 13 minutes. A lot of other books as well.
I haven't read that. The Alchemist is my favorite.
A lot of people have read The Alchemist.
Yeah, it's a common book.
That's that one book that everybody has read. And it's embarrassing, but I'll tell you why I love it. I love it because it teaches you that no matter what journey you take, it leads you back to yourself.
To yourself, indeed.
To your core, to your center. And it refines who you are throughout the journey. You get to realize that the journey is you. You are the journey. And if something doesn't draw you back to yourself, you have to center yourself again. So those are some of the books that have really shaped me and that I've really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. Hey, the buka di monate. And yeah, let's read some more. Share with us the buka toli di enjoy and lona. Let's enjoy and go fella. Yeah, so we can just skim through them. Nalin send the audio books fella. If it doesn't have an audio book, I read it and then send me the audio. Thank you very much. What's your favorite local products or services? Not just local in South Africa, because now I know when you're a global person, in the northernmost parts of Africa, in the center, all the way down Asia. Yeah, but anyway, some of your top favorite local brands. Yeah. So or services. Yeah.
Okay. Can I answer this question a little bit differently?
Go ahead.
Okay. So
it's your interview.
Thank you. Oh, I like it. Yeah. So
yes, please. Lelona letlo join. It's nice here.
Like, share, and subscribe. Yes. Right? No. So when I'm literally inspired by anyone who decides to take that risk. I think it's a beautiful thing. Whether or not I may use it, I may know somebody who uses it. But anyone a Black African child who has the courage to take that step will always be my favorite brand, period. But to elaborate on that,
and let me just, and does it the right way?
And does it the right?
Yeah.
With quality and luxury.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of that, right? And with that being said, one of the biggest things that happened was throughout my entrepreneurial journey, I came across a lot of challenges, right? Selling drugs is one of them. No, when I say drug, I mean like
the dope stuff, the dope product that she has, yeah.
But with that being said, that in itself has a lot of challenges, dealing with cannabis, but also doing indie cosmetics has its own challenges altogether. And when I came across one or two other people who were in the same industry and had the same challenges, I was like, oh wait, these are not challenges. These are things that we can easily overcome should we come together. Like for example, procurement by procuring services in bulk, group rates. Woo. If my business partner can hear the word group rates, she's here. So she's the founder of Black Joy Theory. I'm the founder of Cannabutter, and we decided, hey, let's come together and form a co-op, or rather an association of people who do similar things as us within the indie cosmetic space and beauty space. And we're currently in the pipeline, and I hope that this comes out once we officially launch.
I hope so too.
But what we have done is we've decided to come together and form an association that will house people just like us, so that barriers to entries can become a lot more easier to break through, that procurement becomes a lot more affordable, as well as services. So in essence, that's what we're trying to build. And in there, we have an umbrella of companies that we personally admire, which we'd like to be part of this association. So yeah, you're about to see the list of companies I like. Form of my other business.
This is good. Yes. This is good. This is good. And Hi Sally Ready will direct our people to you straight.
And just sorry, it goes by the name of BOIBA.
BOIBA, yes.
Black Owned Indie Beauty Association.
Okay. BOIBA, you heard it. BOIBA. BOIBA.
Yes.
Cool stuff. What's your definition of wealth?
My definition of wealth is falling back, is having the luxury to make mistakes. We can quote it as many ways. You can say that it's privilege. You can say, but in essence, it's the luxury to make mistakes and having that grace and knowing that no matter what mistakes you make, you have something to fall back on.
Yeah, senior fela mrekutla.
But I think a lot of us don't have that luxury to make mistakes.
Especially as Black entrepreneurs. It's such a tricky thing coming from an existence where people just believe
straight up.
Even when you are an entrepreneur, they still suggest they never like direct you to business opportunities. But government. But you're not helping me. Now I'm gonna stop the business that I'm doing to pursue other things. Okay, anyway, so that's your definition of
yeah, and I'll tell you, my uncle once had this conversation with me. So my uncle made his first million a couple of years back, and I was really, really proud. And he was like, listen, say it's some girl, you you have the luxury to make mistakes. You have the option to go back to your mom's house should all else fail. Give it your all, give it always. And I think that's when I realized that I'm wealthy in my own right. I have the luxury to make that mistake. And yes, wealth does not necessarily mean I have 1 million rand in my bank account. But luxury means, like, no, I decided, hey, I wanted to quit my job the first time around, and I did. And I pursued my business, and this is why I have like a wider range. I used to only have one product, by the way.
I remember.
2 years solid.
Yeah.
So within this 1 year, I've managed to come across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 products.
9, because you don't have the My Cannabutter here.
That's the old product.
Yeah, okay.
So 8 new products is something that I've managed to do. By virtue of quitting my job and saying, look, I can risk it and I can start again. I know that I also have corporate skills. I have the luxury of falling back into corporate, should all else fail as well, So I have the luxury of going back home. I have the luxury of going back into the workspace. And I really believe that's what luxury is. And I think, what wealth is. Yeah. And hence I said, hold on, my responsibility in this lifetime for the next generation is to make sure that they have a wealth of options. Something to fall back on should they not want to do. I want them to start traveling before they say, hey, this is what I want to study.
Indeed.
Because you don't know what the world has to offer. You don't know what you have to offer the world.
The world, actually, I think you learn about yourself so much when you are out in the world as well. Because I heard so many things about China, that I didn't experience when I was in China. So I can't, like, it goes back to, you can't let someone tell you about life experiences without you experiencing yourself, right? Because, I mean, someone can say this is bad, but it was bad for them. It might not necessarily be bad for you.
Everybody said drugs are bad.
Yeah, but this is
I don't smoke. I don't like cannabis as an inhalable, but I like experimenting with it, and I like making different products with it. And I strongly believe that wealth is that privilege to make mistakes, where you have grace to do so because you have options once you're done. I think a lot of people always want to equate it to money, but no, it's having flexibility of time, flexibility of resources, access to resources, access to networks. I believe that's what wealth is to me.
Okay, yeah. So what are your the music codes that, oh, not music codes, but codes or music that lifts you up when you want to be inspired? I, for one, ke rata Mariah Carey's Make It Happen. I didn't know how much I loved it, but recently it's my track. When I feel down.
Is it? I'll actually give it a listen.
Make it happen. And I make it happen. I
must actually try that. I'll tell you. Okay, there's one song that pushed me over the edge, and that was when I was in China. The Huawei Huawei song, Dream Impossible.
Yeah.
Man, that song, whenever I know that, listen, I'm reaching, but I know whatever it is that I'm reaching, I'm going to make it happen.
It's attainable, yeah.
Is Dream Impossible. That's my hype-up song, that's one. Two, when I know that I'm bigger than, you know, when you have a really bad day at work, I haven't had any of those at my new job, I love it there. But at my previous job, man, on my way in the whole bus, I would literally jam this, I'm this close to quitting my job, and every day, and eventually I didn't.
It was a motivational song. It definitely motivated you to do
really
the
did.
things.
I
Yeah.
was like, this close to go because I can't take it anymore.
And a quote.
So Marianne Williamson, right? I love this quote so much. She's having a conversation with Oprah about relationships in general. How we are not just individuals; we are part of something so much bigger, right? I can't quote it word for word, but she says, if you think of yourself as a drop in the ocean, you will feel overwhelmed and engulfed by everything. But if you think of yourself as one with the whole my language fucking thing,
like this is where you can be free with your life.
Thank you. But yeah, she says, if you can think of yourself as one with the whole fucking thing, when you move, it moves.
You are part of the waves. You are the wave.
You are. And hence, it even goes back to the previous question that you asked regarding wealth. I know that if I think of myself as an individual, I'm going to want to get a house, get a car, you know, get all those crazy little things.
Individual
goals,
yeah.
But when I think that, firstly, my ancestors' wildest dream, you know, my 9-year-old's manifestation, I am now the next generation that has to pass on, you know.
Come, say that again. You are your ancestors' wildest dream.
I am.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But when you understand that, when I understand my role in the world, right? To say, I'm not going to now go around buying properties. My mom's done that, you know. What I'll do is help her build, but my role is something different. And my role is to make sure that I feed into the next generation, you know. And yeah, I think that for me is just one quote that has really extended into multiple areas of my life as well, where you understand the essence of who you are. That's why even when it comes to BOIBA, I'm like, yes, I could be a drop and I could be overwhelmed because cannabis and cosmetics all have their own challenges. But if I can bring people together and we move and flow together, man, it just makes it so much easier. There were things that I was struggling to do in the first 2 years of my company that I managed to do within 3 months of knowing these women. And that's when you realize that you're not an individual, you're not an island. And when you move and other people around you move in the same direction, there's so many things that you can overcome and do.
Which is so true. I mean, just taking your analogy, I mean, there's nothing much a single raindrop can do, but a tsunami.
A raindrop, you always even think of a repeat on you.
Yeah, what's a lot? Mara, tsunami, it moves things. It moves things.
Look, whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
things are not going to be the same.
Indeed. And that's how we get to the end of our interview.
Is it done already?
Is it? You don't want to leave, right?
No!
Let's just continue with this. But yeah, no, and as they say, kokasiaka, so iqeda, and how I would like to add to that is so iqeda iphele nya intlupheko.
Okay.
Ifele kaofela.
Feel like I'll fit.
Kaofela.
Okay, done and dusted.
Done and dusted. Sure.